Alright, this will be the first video I'm making to answer questions. These are 10 different questions that I gathered from the internet and different sources pertaining specifically to Hellenism. I will be doing other videos like this for magical topics. If you have a question that you would like to be included in the next video, send it to me and I will answer your question and leave you anonymous, unless that is you say you want your name out there. I also feel I need to give a disclaimer before I get started. I do not speak for all Hellenists. If you were to ask these questions to 10 different Hellenists, you may get 10 different answers. I can say that I'm speaking from my view and experience as a Thessalian Hellenist. Now, let's get into it. Let's get started with the first question. Is it necessary to light candles during prayers? If I don't, will the gods be able to hear me? Short answer to this is no. It is not necessary to have a candle lit to pray to the gods. Should you light a candle and incense when praying? If at all possible, in my opinion, yes. Is it possible to simply recite a prayer during your day-to-day life? Absolutely it is. It is important to remember that the gods are not off in some distant universe, but that the realms of existence are overlapping and intermingled with each other. When you realize this, it becomes easier to accept that your prayers are being heard. To take this a little further, the gods are not tied to specific locations. However, the energy of specific locations relate to certain deities, which allows their energies to manifest stronger within those locations, similar to how Hecate manifests at the crossroads, Dionysus in a vineyard, or Hera in a wedding hall. Question number 2. Do the gods talk to us and interact with us in our daily lives? Again, the quick answer to this question is yes. This typically requires a connection to the gods, which is obtained through prayer and proper offerings or sacrifices. When the gods do interact with us in our daily lives, it is typically done in ways that we do not initially recognize. It is only after that we are able to look back and connect the pieces. I've given examples of this within my own life here on this channel before. Now, when it comes to the gods physically speaking to you, and you will probably see people claiming this on different social media platforms, the answer is no. I have met people in the past who claim to have direct communication to the gods through their entire daily lives, and I think TikTok is probably the worst for promoting such things. Another aspect of this question is the concept of signs given by the gods. This absolutely happens, but it is something that should be evaluated because not everything is going to be a sign from the gods. If you go through your life looking at everything as a sign from the gods, you will drive yourself mad. It is perfectly acceptable to request a sign from the gods on a matter through prayer, but in your everyday life, these things should be questioned. If it is truly a sign from the gods, they will make it known. Question number 3. Is witchcraft a part of Hellenism? Historically speaking, magic was a part of the ancient world just as it is a part of our modern world. We know this because we have ancient papyri that survived the ages. The most famous of these papyri are what is known as the Greek magical papyri, or the PGM for short. For those who don't know, this can be purchased on Amazon as a paperback. It is, however, not a book that anyone can just open and utilize the material within. There are different online courses that someone could take to help gain an understanding of these papyri, but I would suggest that someone have some form of magical foundation before employing these into their practices. Question number 4. What can I offer the gods? When it comes to giving offerings to a deity, the offerings would be determined by the deity in question. There are, however, general offerings that would be appropriate for all deities, such as red wine, bread, or a general incense. I have shared a daily offering ritual on this channel that someone could, if they felt so inclined, modify to specific deities that they choose. For more specific offerings to the gods, you should look to their myths and stories to determine items that are sacred to them. Most people are aware that canines are sacred to Hecate, and for this purpose I have a canine skull. Don't worry, I did not harm the animal. He was a pet who died of natural causes. I have also in the past had an owl kamikaze itself on the driver door of my vehicle. So instead of leaving it on the side of the road, I retrieved it, took it home. I collected small tokens from the deceased bird before placing it on a pyre to Athena. These are, of course, more extreme situations, and there are much simpler offerings. For instance, all alcoholic beverages are sacred to Dionysus. Wedding bands could be given to Hera. The Church of Thessaly has small books printed on many of the gods that gives offerings used by members of the church for those deities. All of these books can be found on Amazon or from the Church of Thessaly website, which is down in the description. Question number 5. How do you reach out to a specific god? Quite simply, you should begin with prayer. Pray daily and begin some sort of daily offerings, whether it be libation, food, incense while you pray, or all three. The more often you do this, the more of a connection you will be building to that deity. You should also study that deity's myths and learn their history. The easiest way to view this is like a friend in the material world. If you only ever call this friend when you are in need, they are probably less inclined to actually lend you a helping hand. However, if you have a strong friendship with that person, you speak to them often, you visit, and the friendship is a two-way street, chances are when you're in need, they will be there. This is not to say that you can do anything to benefit a god. On the contrary, they do not need anything from us. I've talked about this in other videos, so as far as here, that's as far as I'm going to get into it. It is the giving of offerings and prayer that you create a void, and the cosmos fills that void. It is also important to not negotiate prices for offerings to the gods. When you are seeking to purchase something as an offering to a deity, the price is the price. You give what you give as a sacrifice to that deity. Question number 6. Is there good information on TikTok? So I'm not on TikTok much, so I can't say that there isn't any good content on the platform, but I can say there is a lot of bad content on the platform when it comes to Hellenism or paganism in general. I can say that Monty Plaisance is on TikTok, and he is one creator that I would recommend following. I'll even link to him in the description below. Question number 7. What do you do with offerings and libations when you clean your altar? I typically like to burn my offerings after they have set on the altar for a while. I like to clean my altar at the beginning of the lunar cycle, but it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes I get sidetracked with life. Libations I will pour out directly onto the ground outside the temple door. The reason that the offerings are burned and not discarded in any other way is that Hestia is the divine flame on Olympus. It is through her that the gods receive their offerings. I've heard people say that you can eat offerings after they are given to the deities. Now, it is fine to share a meal with the deity, however, I would restrain from eating the meal entirely, since the key word is sharing. It is also a good idea to not share a meal with deities such as Hades. I know some of you are scoffing at this, but let's think about it. Hades' job is to rule over the realm of the dead. He is the king of the underworld. His energy is not really something you want to have around at all times. But I am not here to tell you how to worship or who to worship. I am merely sharing my perspective and my experience and training. Question number 8. Do you have to be Greek to worship the Greek gods? This probably gets asked way more than it should. The answer is no. The gods are not tied to a specific location on this planet. Your genetic makeup does not prohibit you from worshiping the gods of ancient Greece. Anyone who says otherwise needs their head checked. Moving on. Question number 9. How often should I give offerings or pray? This really depends on you. How well do you want to develop a connection with the divine? Are you content with being a weekend Hellenist, or do you want to be serious about your spiritual path? Some people will say that you don't have to pray every day, and they're right, you don't. But do you want a connection with the gods? If you do, then you need to put the work in. The gods are there. It's up to us to reach out. This also ties back into the friend comment earlier. A true friendship is not made in a one and done visit or meeting. It is a relationship cultivated over years and time spent together. So if you are serious about your spiritual and religious path, then spend time daily and pray. Question number 10. How to be a good Hellenist? This is one of those questions that could probably make an entire video all to itself, but I'm going to do it here. You can ask 10 different people and probably get 10 very different answers. But I'm going to give my personal opinion. We all know that there is no set doctrine in Hellenism, and that is probably one of the things that appeal to a lot of people, especially coming from a monotheistic background. So the first part of my answer should be obvious. In order to be a Hellenist, you need to put the effort in. It's one thing to call yourself a Hellenist and another to actually be one. If you don't pray and never honor the gods, are you really a Hellenist? Another aspect of this is studying the history of the gods and religion itself. Let your practice evolve as you grow and learn. Like I said, there are a lot of people that come to Hellenism because there is no set doctrine, but I do believe we can all agree on certain things, and I believe Solon got it right. If not, then very close. Solon was an Athenian lawmaker, philosopher, and poet. He was also credited with helping set the foundation for Athenian democracy. Solon presented 10 guides to live a good life, which are: 1. Trust good character more than promises. People will show you who they are through their actions, and these actions don't always align with their words. Remember the saying, actions speak louder than words. 2. Do not speak falsely. You should do your best to keep your word when you give it. If you say you will do something, then you should make every effort to keep to it, within reason, of course. 3. Do good things. This is really self-explanatory. 4. Do not be hasty in making friends, but do not abandon them once they are made. It is really easy to count people as friends, and a lot of people will claim to be, but they're not. Take the time to get to know a person before you count them in your circle. It is better to have a small circle of people you can truly trust than a large circle of people who will betray your trust. Just the same, once someone is in that circle, you should make every effort to maintain that friendship. Number 5, learn to obey before you command. Simply put, if you have never served, you do not know how to lead. Learn how to serve your community before you try to lead the community. Number 6, when giving advice, do not recommend what is most pleasing, but what is most useful. This is difficult to do, especially in our modern age. It is better to give someone the harsh truth that is needed than to lie to comfort them. Number 7, make reason your supreme commander. Do not allow your emotions or appetites to rule you. Balance your emotions with reason and rule over your appetites by making rational decisions. Number 8, do not associate with people who do bad things. This is another self-explanatory guide. Number 9, honor the gods. This is part of what we're discussing now, honor the gods and being a good Hellenist. Number 10, have regard for your parents. This is a tricky one, as I know some people take it as honor your parents, but it is not the same. I know from experience that not all parents are accepting of children taking different paths from their own. Set boundaries for yourself as adults, and if you have to enforce those boundaries, then do so. I have regard for my father, meaning that I wish him well, but I do not associate with him at this stage in my life. And that is for Solon's Guide to a Good Life. Now, ultimately, the purpose of religion is to cultivate a relationship with the divine, and the key to this is worship. It is the foundation of any religious practice. Therefore, give the gods priority within your thoughts and deeds. It is through this that the gods' energy flows into our lives and improves our lives. Maintain proper prayers and rituals. Remember the friend analogy? It applies here again. When something bad does happen within your life, don't blame the gods, but look at the circumstances. Sometimes it's a thing that we just have to go through, or it could be a result of our own actions. But it is not the gods pushing you or punishing you. I did an entire video on that concept already. All right, so that is 10 questions answered, and I will start looking for some more. If you have a question, send it to me, either in the comments below, by email, or private on Discord, and I will answer it in the next video. Or if there is something you would like to see more of here on this channel, let me know that as well. Now that we have a break in festivals, I'm hoping that me and Monty can also sit down for that interview soon. Don't forget the Church of Thessaly is hosting an online event for Hecate in November, and you can get tickets at churchofthessaly.com. I will be presenting the Trials of Heracles as a blueprint to apotheosis, and I hope you can join us. Until next time, Salate.